So thank you guys for. Oh, okay, hold on. Redo. Can't start with thank you guys. Hold on. Everyone to the first episode of our podcast, Chalk Talks. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ryan. I'm alongside Kennedy, Greyson, Maddox, and Elizabeth. This semester, we're going to be diving into Clemson sports and stories from all different points of views. Today, for our first episode, we're super excited to sit down and talk about what life is like as a student athlete, the balance this takes, as well as how golf fits into the bigger picture of media coverage in college, but specifically Clemson athletics. With that being said, I'm going to introduce you to our special guest for today, Clemson men's golf's very own Colin Salema. How are you doing today, Colin?
Good, good. Thank you.
Colin Salema, how are you doing?
Me on. Honored to be the first guest on here.
Of course. So first off, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what's your major, your favorite part about being at Clemson?
Sure. So I'm a sophomore marketing manager from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm really enjoying it so far, being on the golf team. I think the biggest attraction to Clemson for me is the people. Like I feel like we're just surrounded by so many like awesome people, the fans and supporters of Clemson, like not only with athletics but just in general are great, and just the community itself is full of a lot of amazing people.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, I'm going to jump right into things and I'm asking you this. What first got you into golf and how did your journey lead you to Clemson?
Sure. So I first started out golfing when I was two, and my grandpa got me into it. He kind of just got me these like plastic clubs that I was whacking these wiffle balls around the yard in. And I played the other sports growing up, to kind of just like tested out everything, and golf was really the one that stuck. So I've been playing for quite a while and kind of just gradually kind of worked my way up. Started out like lower level junior stuff and had some success. So just kind of each level continued to build, and I was just really grateful to get the opportunity to come play here. It was my number one choice in my dream school, so I was really honored to be able to come play for the Tigers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's super awesome here. So for our next question for you, Colin, kind of just giving us an insight to the life of a student athlete. It would be, what does a typical day as a student athlete look like for you, balancing schoolwork, golf, and anything else you might have going on?
Sure. So a typical day, like involving practice and workouts, would be we usually start out with class. Like we all have all our classes in the morning. So for me personally, I'm done with class by 10:30 the latest. So I usually go 8 to 10:30 on most days. And then we have a little bit of a break between then and the afternoon to get lunch and kind of relax for a little bit. And then we usually have practice starting around 1 that goes towards around 4 or 5. And then we have lift from 5 to 6 on like most of the time Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So those days can get pretty busy on days we have lift. And then some days we just go to the course and play instead of practice. So our afternoons are pretty packed pretty much every day of the week. And then we travel on weekends, sometimes into the next week. But on a typical day, like after we're done with practice and workouts, then we just have like time after dinner to get our homework done. So we have to be very diligent with our time and plan way far in advance to make sure we have time for everything.
Super interesting to hear about. And then just kind of follow that up. What would you say is like the biggest challenge you've faced as a student athlete so far?
I'd say the biggest challenge I faced last year, well, it was probably last year. This year's been a bit easier, but we were required as freshmen to get our first semester 10 hours of study hall every week. So that kind of ate up every single like free minute that we had. And it's gradually gotten better. Like last semester, we had 4 hours, and this year, I don't have any, which is good. It's allowed me to have a lot of free time, a lot more free time than I had last year. But that challenge was it was pretty difficult managing time last fall.
Yeah.
Awesome. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about you as a golfer. Over the summer, you won the Carolinas Open at your home course and then followed that up with a very impressive second place finish at the Monroe Invitational. How do you use those kind of performances to help build momentum heading into the golf season?
Yeah, I think that this summer really boosted my confidence and it would definitely carrying a lot of momentum into this fall, playing against a lot of similar competition in some of these college events as we're at the Monroe and on like similar styles of golf courses. So kind of just using that, keeping that in the back of my mind, like if I'm ever struggling or not swinging at my best, just as a constant reminder that I can compete with these guys and compete on these courses. So it was definitely a huge confidence boost. It was exciting to have a pretty successful summer, and I'm just looking forward to hopefully continuing some of that momentum this fall.
Good for you. And kind of building on to that, talking about the the college golf scene. Most people who watch professional golf might not know how a team competition would work. So, would you mind like breaking down how a normal tournament looks for you guys?
Sure. So most college events we take five, and then some of them we have an individual. So the individual sort of, as it sounds, individual, just they compete on their own. And like obviously they're still there, but their score doesn't count towards part of the team. So then you have the five guys, and each round the top four scores count. So even if you don't count for round one, you can still count for round two. And so just over the most tournaments are 54 holes. So over the 3 rounds, it's the top four from each round that count. And the individual is in essence they're just competing for themselves.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
appreciate the insight right there to competition and what a regular tournament looks like. Inside the tournament, how would you describe the culture of the golf team?
I'd say our culture this year is really good. Like we're all really close. We all outside of golf, we all do a lot together and we all like have known each other for a while. So that was already a good foundation, and it kind of just allows us to like we're all just really friendly with each other. So even though we're competing as a team, we are also still competing individually. So like even though we're competition, we're all like really good about motivating each other, whether that's like in competition, but also like in the weight room, like uh, helping motivate others, like for class, like making sure doing all stuff, holding each other accountable. Like it makes it a lot easier to like have a really like fluid team chemistry in all aspects, just because we have a like prior like friendships established.
Yeah, that's super cool. I think it's cool that you guys are like essentially competing against each other, but you still like have that friendship and that like family-esque-ness within the team. However, how do you feel like that do you feel as though Clemson does a good or bad job with coverage in golf compared to like other sports at Clemson?
I think I mean, obviously, it would be great to have some more headlines. Some of that is we gotta have some good finishes, but
Yeah.
it's totally understandable that they focus and most of the headlines are on football, just due to like I don't know, we can get into like the financial aspect of it. Like football draws in the most money,
Mm.
and then followed by basketball, baseball, etc. I think that there definitely could be sort of like a more of a level playing field when it comes
Yeah.
to those types of headlines. Like I know on our like Clemson Golf website we have like our news headings, but like in terms of like Clemson as a whole posting golf stuff, there isn't too much. So to your question, yeah, it would be great if we could get some more headlines and articles out there to promote golf and show what we're accomplishing on the course.
I mean, for being at like a school across from like all of these like golf courses, I would think that there would be more like headlights on you guys, a spotlight on you guys. But thank you.
Yeah, of
I
course.
would agree also. Definitely. I was doing my golf research before we were going to interview. I saw you guys were 11-time ACC champions, so don't be selling the golf
Yeah, what the
team.
heck?
We gotta get a 12th one this year. Gotta get a
There you go.
Do you
Yeah,
think
love it.
because I don't mean to interrupt you, Elizabeth. Do you think
You're good.
because it's such an individual sport that it's kind of like personal media coverage, like you kind of have to advertise yourself even to get on tour?
I think so. I think like especially with the way that the rankings work and transitioning from the collegiate level to professional, like they really focus on like what you're doing individually as opposed to your team because your team could be the best. And if you're struggling individually, they like you're I guess like it'd be the equivalent to like draft stock for the NFL. Like your like golfer draft stock just wouldn't be that high and you wouldn't be like in the position ranking wise to get to that next level professionally.
Sorry, I'm going to build on that. Golf and the individual part of it is such a mental game. So for you, what is your routine for kind of staying focused under all that pressure?
I've done a lot of work and I've come a long way. It's not easy. I've read a lot of books and we work as a team with a sports psychologist just about like you have a pre-shot like physical routine like that you go through before each shot, but then also like a pre-round mental routine or pre-shot mental routine. And a lot of it is really just like focusing on like in the moment. Like that's the phrase that I just if I'm losing focus, I just constantly repeat to myself and focus on that because it's so easy to like focus on what might happen with the shot you hit or dwell on a poor shot you hit in the past. And like it's just you can't emphasize enough on how important it is to focus on like that shot you're hitting. So it's just like a constant reminder that I use when I'm out there and starting to lose focus to keep myself kind of centered and where I am.
Yeah, like a goldfish memory. I'm sure you've heard that one.
Yeah, 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 for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Colin, for telling us a little bit about you and your experience at Clemson Golf. So we wanted to switch a little and ask you, with the Ryder Cup coming up this weekend, who are you surprised about making the team, and what do you expect out of the Americans this year?
That's a good question. Um, I think the team's good. I think the team's not only US but the European team is but they're both really talented. Not necessarily surprised, but looking forward to watching some of these guys that haven't been on the team before, see how they can hold up and under the Ryder Cup pressure in their first go around. I think it's going to be good. We have a team bet on because we have a lot of American guys and a lot of European guys. So we have a team bet to see who will win. So I'm really pulling for our guys, hoping the Americans
There you go.
win.
Yeah,
What's
I'm
the
really
prize
excited to
if
watch,
you win?
especially. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, what's the prize if you guys win? Like, what are you betting on? Like, what is yeah, what you gotta get out of it if you guys win in
It's
this bet?
it's an interesting bet, but whoever's team loses has to use iron covers with the colors of the opposing team. So like if the Americans were to lose, us American guys would have to get iron covers with the European team colors on it and use it in our next tournament,
Uh,
Brutal.
which I am
Yeah.
very anti iron covers. So I'm really hoping the American guys can pull through.
Yeah, I'm excited to see
Yeah.
what this New York crowd has to offer these Europeans.
Hopefully they can be as loud as they're known for.
Yeah.
And then still talking about the Ryder Cup, obviously all the media attention and hype it's getting is through the roof. As a player, what's it kind of like to watch golf take center stage on like that big of a stage?
I think it's great because I mean, obviously, all these other sports like football, basketball, the popularity is just through the roof. So it's been exciting to see golf kind of take off a little bit, especially in these last couple of years, and kind of not necessarily reach the popularity of some of the other sports, but definitely take a step towards it. So I feel like it's good. I feel like I'm hoping it only continues to grow, and hopefully in a few years down the road, it's just starting to near the levels of some of these other sports
Yeah, I think golf is really taking off. I think it's heading in the right direction.
for sure.
Is there
And
anybody?
then
Oh, my bad.
go ahead, no, go ahead.
Is there anybody that didn't make the team that you thought was going to be a captain's pick, or were you surprised about any of them?
There weren't too many people. I was a little surprised that Keegan didn't pick himself. I feel like if he wasn't the captain, he totally should have been playing, but I understand where he's coming from not doing that. But I I completely agree with all the picks that he made. I think that the team is what it should be, and like everybody that deserved to make the team made it, which is good. I feel like you got to honor that in some respect.
I agree.
All right. Well, before I send you on your way, I'm going to ask you one more fun question for the
Uh,
people. What's your go-to hype song before every round?
Go-to hype
Yeah.
song. Let's see. It hasn't always been, but the last two tournaments, I've listened to Skrilla by Kodak before every round.
Okay. Yep. That's a good song.
Sometimes I go for like a country song, kind of just keep the mood nice and neutral. But the last few rounds, I've been
Like that.
trying to get a little pumped up.
There you go. That's
So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining the show today, Colin. It was great to have you. Of
yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
course.
Yeah, thanks, Colin.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Now we can
Thank you all.
dive into some discussion questions. Kennedy, if you want to get us started.
Yes. Obviously, we learned from Colin a little bit about the Clemson Golf like media coverage, and like I said, I learned recently that they're 11-time ACC champions, but obviously they seem to receive less coverage than sports such as football and basketball. And with obviously the recent, we'll say, non-developments of our football team, as well as losing lots of our roster from our basketball team from last year. Do you guys think that the media coverage of other sports, specifically golf, obviously, will maybe start to go up a little bit?
I think it should, based on obviously everything what's happening with our football team. It's not great. The fans aren't happy. People just don't want to see that right now. I know people who are celebrating the bye week this week, which is pretty embarrassing for Clemson football. So I think it'd be nice if they changed up some things, maybe switched to sports like golf, like baseball, soccer. Soccer's in season right now. They're doing pretty good. Not many people know that. So I think it should definitely take a switch to maybe some other sports.
Yeah, I agree with the off-season part. Like, there are a lot of sports that we see, like baseball, that aren't really in season, so there's not much to cover about them. But then that's when we can also get really creative and start learning about new athletes and doing things to like get fans involved and to like the personal lives of these athletes. So it could also be maybe like a growing opportunity for our media team.
I would definitely agree with what like both of you guys said. I think that with obviously people's anger towards Clemson football right now, Clemson is kind of always thought of as like a football school, but it's also like an athletics in general school. And I think that them showcasing more of those like different athletics and like the other sports would definitely be beneficial and would be good for the other sports as well.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
also, sorry,
You can go. No, you're good.
looking at golf in general, if you look at the PGA and stuff like that, the NFL is always going to be bigger than the PGA. It kind of doesn't matter what the PGA does. And you're just kind of talking about a certain demographic of fandom. The PGA doesn't really draw that much, retrospectively compared to the NBA or NFL. And then you look at that at a collegiate level, and obviously a D1 golf team isn't going to get as much media coverage as a D1 football team, especially with, being hyper successful in the past couple of years, and even with basketball being pretty successful. So I would say it depends a lot on the fans. There just isn't really that many fans for golf as there is for football or for basketball.
Kind of adding on to that, kind of agreeing to disagree as well. I feel like on the professional level, it's kind of hard to compare the NFL and the PGA. The NFL, you're right, is always going to be bigger, but on the collegiate level, especially when you have a struggling football team like we do here, it gives you almost, it feels like an alley-oop to go introduce these other sports and make a name for these athletes because these are people you could walk past every day, have a class with, and some people may never know. And being on campus with these guys every day and they could be a part of your day-to-day life. So I feel like it's an opportunity to grow into and branch into all these other sports that we have around campus.
I agree. I think that there's like track and field is doing really good too, like all of these um other sports, but I don't think that they will push those out as much. I think consistently we are going to like, I mean, it's controversial, but I feel like they know that people watch. We're going to bring in a bigger crowd by football, whether it's positive or negative feedback, or
Yeah.
if we're doing well or we're doing bad. Like, even if when we're doing bad, we're attracting so many people because they're all like, so it's like, I think, I do think that there should be more like sports in the spotlight, but I don't think they will do that.
I think
I
that's
feel
the
like they're
harsh reality.
sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it
I
goes
was just saying that. Sorry.
all publicity is good publicity, like kind of what you
Yeah,
Maddox, just like they're still getting in all of those viewers, even though we're 1 and 3 at the moment. So, but they're definitely still bringing
exactly.
all the viewers and likes and comments and whatnot in.
Like,
So,
even though like Yik Yak is crazy, but like everyone's still watching. Like
Yeah.
everyone's and like you're also teaching all these people who don't really know sports, like, oh, like Dabo Sweeney, let's get on it. Like, what's going on, you know?
I think it also goes into like the success of your team. Like say we have like a really important race that we won, we'll get like 3 or 4 posts on the Instagram. But if we just like have a normal weekend, we like won't get anything. So I
Yeah,
think also, especially with these smaller teams, like if they continue to win, you'll see teams like I'm just thinking about women's sports right now, you know, like Iowa basketball. They obviously got so much coverage because they were so good. Things
yeah.
like LSU, South Carolina, they get all this coverage, but like you don't see maybe our women's basketball team getting all of this coverage and things like that. So I think
Mhm.
success brings in the media coverage. And with football and basketball, it's a little different because people are so passionate that they want to hear about football and basketball, whether they win or lose, and people want to talk
For
about it
sure.
whether they win or lose. But with these smaller sports, like, yes, it's great to see when they win, but people really only want to see like the positive side of it. So I think
Mhm.
that that's what our social media focuses on is like really highlighting the teams instead of like informing people about everything that's going on.
Kind of going off of that, what you said about Iowa basketball and Caitlin Clark specifically, I'm going to pose our next question. Do you guys think the rise of social media in athletics or athletes even specifically gives less covered sports such as golf, women's basketball, volleyball, track and field more power to build their brands?
I would definitely say that like the rise of social media and especially with things like TikTok and like Instagram stories, like more casual versions of posting, it definitely can give these like smaller scale sports more power to build their brands, I think, because if they start to build personal relationships in a sense with like the fans and they can start to draw more people in based on like their personality and then people will find interest in the sport, I think that that could definitely give those less covered sports more of an opportunity to kind of build themselves up.
Agreeing with that, I think specific athletes play a large role in that. As probably the biggest example you could say is Livy Dunn.
I was just gonna say
Gymnastics
her. Yeah.
gymnastics wasn't a huge wide covered sport, and obviously she was an LSU gymnast, and she's probably one of the most followed people on TikTok now. So that obviously brought a lot of different coverage and different fandom and a lot more people to the gymnastics scene that probably weren't there before.
I think it's like what you do with it too. Like, I mean, given I feel like women in women's sports, it's like it's a harsh reality that a lot of times it's not the best environment, but I commend Livy Dunn because she kind of took that and ran with it, right? Like she was like, and now she's like in all of these like ads that are not gymnastics related, but look at all these people who now follow LSU gymnastics because of that.
Do y'all think it's easier to be a guy or a girl on social media to like have a big platform? Like who do you think has more of an opportunity to blow up?
I would say girls, in my opinion.
I would agree.
Yeah, just because I feel like people who are really interacting on social media, like when I think of TikTok and stuff, I think of like it's a very like
Like I'm not
girl
gonna post a
oriented.
day in the
Yeah,
life, like
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
right. So I feel like especially women, like the demographic of sports is male oriented. So when we see these like female athletes, we're like, oh, like this is something new to us. Like we don't get to see this that often because a lot of coverage and everything goes to the male side of things. So when females get more on the social media side and we start to see more of their personalities, that's when we get a real attachment to them.
I would definitely agree, but to almost like, because like I totally do agree, but to play devil's advocate in a way, somebody that I think of in like sports that definitely like blew up over TikTok is Jared McCain. I
Yes.
think that like he's a really good example of someone that like used that platform. Obviously, basketball, March Madness,
Mhm.
it's a big sport and people know about it anyway, but I think that he definitely gained such a big following from just like posting silly videos on TikTok.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
agree. Also playing on the same side as you, Kennedy, I feel like it's so you were saying that the TikTok scene is a lot of girls or like a guy would never post a day in the life type of thing. But then you have all these guys or these athletes doing these TikTok dances that you would typically imagine girls to be doing or girls with all their friends doing. So I think that's also a big part of it. I had a kid from my high school who was a long snapper at LSU. Obviously, not many people follow that position. And he would do dances and he would blow up because everyone in his comments were like, "Oh, you didn't touch the field, you suck," blah blah blah, and then that feeds into the algorithm of just blowing up his feed, blowing up his page. So I think definitely I agree with women's side, but I think you can also make the argument for both.
For sure. All right. Based on our conversation with Colin, do you all think universities should be doing more to help athletes like balance academics and sports? You know, he talked a little bit about his study hall hours, and he also told us about his schedule, very busy. Do you all think that Clemson can be doing more with resources and everything?
I think at a D1 school, your resources are used pretty well. Um, or at least you're given the opportunity to use your resources. Um, I know some guys that are at, a D2, D3 level they're just like a normal student. They just happen to play, a sport and they're treated the same way. So I would say it definitely depends on the level that you're at, whether it's D1, D2, D3, or, a JUCO level.
Yeah, and especially here at Clemson, we have IPTE, which is just money poured in to the athletics, especially football, particularly. But we have all that money coming in, so that helps allow to build support for all these different athletes. So just kind of adding on to what you said, I think it really just depends on the different levels of division, I guess you're playing the sport at.
I think also like another perspective other than like just the divisions of the sport is like the sport itself. I know I've had like classes with athletes here like at some points throughout my time here, and like there was one I had with Matt Kelly, who's a basketball player. He graduated last year, my sophomore year, and it was in the spring semester, so like that was while March Madness was also going on, so obviously there was some traveling like going on there. And I just think it would have been interesting. Like, it's interesting to see like when they're in class versus when they're not in class and like what's going on with each different like sport that they participate in.
Yeah, for sure.
And even like I'm friends with like Peter Woods and like Ashton, and all on the football team, but like they have told me even that there's a lot that Clemson gives them to help them with that transition, especially with games and being away. Like, I think like this school is a big athletic school, so I think they give them a lot, which is great. So
Thanks everybody for tuning in to Chalk Talk. You can check us out on the Sports News Media Podcast Instagram. Stay tuned, and we'll see you on our episode next week.
yeah.
That worked.
Perfect.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.